I'm filling in for Bruce. Bruce, as you know, is the president. And Bruce is out of the country, so if I mess up, leave it against me. But we usually start with a pledge, so if everybody wants to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guys, come sit over here. I'm going to move up here.
All right, thank you all for coming tonight. Tonight we have a guest speaker. We have Mr. Petrone, the Huntington Town Supervisor. We're also expecting Suffolk County Legislator Rob Trotter to speak on some of the same issues. So Mr. Petrone has a short time frame to allot us, so we'll just let him get right into it.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here. And in fact, this was the easiest assignment because I just live across the street. Did I walk? No, I didn't walk. Not with my back and this cold weather. You shouldn't be out walking this cold.
Okay.
It's nice to be here. I know many of you, and I think I'm familiar with a few of the issues that you're probably concerned with. But first, let me just give you a general overview of basically where the town is. The town right now is in very, very good shape. Financially, we're in top-notch shape. We got a triple bond rating. We've stabilized taxes for quite a while. And our services are continuing. So we're doing really very, very well. We went through a few bumps. Sandy was the biggest. And I know many of you experienced a bad time in Sandy. Commack was probably one of the areas that probably got hit the worst in terms of having no power for a long period of time. And hopefully they've corrected that now with a new group in there. We'll see. But then, of course, Sandy left, and we had snow. And we've had snow ever since. That's the way I feel right now. We have a new highway superintendent who's just elected. And I don't know how he fared with your streets come these last two storms. He had one right away as soon as he came in, and then one last week. And from what I see, he did a good job. We've been on the phone constantly with that storm, and we've joined forces. We made the commitment that what we were going to do is, there's really no elected official that's in charge of just the highway. And there's no supervisor that should exclude himself from the highway. So let's join forces and put people together. One of the things that was always difficult in the past. And we put all our forces together. We had garbage trucks out there with plows and everything else. And it seemed to work very, very well. So we're now evaluating some of the things that have to be done. He's looking at the contractors that come in, the private contractors, to see how many more we need, or which ones perhaps should be changed, or what areas should have additional outside people coming in. And it's always difficult for anybody dealing with snow or roads to deal with picking what streets get done first. They have a grid that they work on. But quite honestly, they go first to the areas where there are most people, mostly populated. So we're talking here now on major roads, or main roads get done really right away. Commack Road, for example, would be a road, town line, although these are county roads. At times we have a contract to plow from them, and other times we don't. But some of the main roads will get plowed first. Then it's your secondary roads. And then people that bought a house that are so proud of living on a cul-de-sac or a court find that they're the last ones to be done. Because there's a handful of people on it. That is looking to really change somehow, because that's a good staging area. We sat and we talked and we said, you know, if you have a court and a cul-de-sac off an area, doesn't it make sense that that would be an area that has a wide area where you can actually put snow if you have to? So basically, you want to get that cleared. So some of the changes in philosophy are taking place, but he's doing a good job. Our FEMA money, I'm a stickler for documentation and getting everything in. So far, we're still owed money by FEMA, but we're going to get everything we asked for, it looks as if. Everything. And that's great, because that shows basically the town forces have done their job, they've been out there, they did it correctly. It was massive, Sandy. Those of you that are here, you know it. Everybody had trees come down.
You know what the dollar figure is?
About 30 million? Yeah. Yeah, which is a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a ton of money. And a lot of it is due to trees that came down. We didn't get the floods in Huntington. Mackinac Beach area, there's the Lloyd Neck Causeway, and there's the Asheroken Causeway. Those are the areas we watch a lot because they flood over. It really wasn't that bad. We got little flooding, and if it flooded, it came through, and that was the end of it. Not like the South Shore. But what we got was the heavy winds. We got more so the heavy winds, which brought the trees down, and of course the wires down. And you know what happened there. So we've reevaluated, looked to see how we would approach this at another time. If those of you, if you see when there's a snowstorm now or anything, you get a message from me. It's a Huntington alert. I get more calls from people. We love your messages. People want to know, I think, that we're in communication, that something's happening. And we tell you to look at the website. We do a lot of Facebook now. We're advancing into the social media so that you have various things that are an option when something goes wrong. If we had another Sandy, we know that the wires are going to go down. We know that the cable's going to go off. We know that you're probably not going to have internet. We have the workforce, we're going to be breaking them up into teams where they'll come in and people will go, there's nothing going on at town hall. We're not going to really conduct business. They'll go out to the communities in cars and bring printed material out, take information from people where there's really crisis, where they can't get through. So we're going to get to that level, as well as looking for more warming centers. If you remember Sandy, it was not cold until a day or two later. And it got cold. People were cold. I got warming centers opened right away. These are the things that you don't experience. And when you do, you can enhance the program. I'd like to get to someday having a program in a situation where every community has a shelter, whether it's for warming or for overnight or for feeding, getting supplies, where it would be one school in every school district. If not one, maybe two, depending on the size of the district. Where we would work with them, we'd get generators in the building, and it would be an opportunity so that you would know your community, you know the name of the school, you know where it is, it's right there. And you could get to it. And we could disperse people in such a way that it's not massive crowds. Not everybody needs shelter. Not everybody wants it. Many people decide to leave if they can. And so there's a combination of things that take place. But in spite of all of that, we got through. And we did fairly well, I believe, in trying to bring the community back and the town back to some kind of order. It took quite a while, though. I would say I was active in this process myself, personally, for 1 month. Well, that's what I did. I mean, I was 1 month on top of this, because it was one thing after the next. And then it was contractors that could not come and take the trees, and we went on and on. We contracted with the sawmill here on Haunted. They were great, because what we did was we brought logs there, and we just dumped them. So those are the things you don't normally deal with, but it came through, and we did pretty well. The town has a new website, so that you can keep in contact with our website. It's huntingtonny.gov, and what you can do, you can be interactive on there with us. You can file a complaint, you can do all sorts of things, and we see more and more people utilizing that service now. So we're trying to keep town hall basically in your homes. Not everybody wants a trip into town hall. People would like to deal with it in a different way, and so we're trying to accommodate that and work along those lines. I know that some of your concerns here in Commack, and Commack is, it's a split community in that it's two towns. So it's different, and it has a few legislators. And so you have a larger pool of governmental people. That's good in some respects, and in some respects it's not, depending on the circumstance. One of the things I know that we're looking at and dealing with, and you're dealing with, and I know you're dealing with, is Town Line Road.
Yep.
Some of the issues on Town Line Road.
Getting bad.
Town Line Road is a problem for us right now, and I'm going to be very blunt with you and tell you exactly, where we are. I don't sugarcoat this stuff. Town Line Road, we had a lawsuit with the county that went on, and we won that lawsuit. The lawsuit was over the maintenance and the repaving of that road. For some reason, many years ago, the towns were assuming that. And there was really no agreement. It was for a short period of time. And I'm not going to get into too many of the details because they don't really mean much to you. But we told the county, this is your road. Either you reimburse us or you take care of it. And they argued and fought. We went to court and we won. We went to the appellate court too and we won. So that's where that sits. And we're not saying to the county we want all this money back, but we're saying you're going to take care of the road and we're going to go into a contract with you. And they are still hesitant in spite of the lawsuit. And I hate that I have to go into court again, perhaps. But that's part of the controversy, I think, on Town Line Road. People say, well, just put signs up to this. It's not our road to do. And legally, I have a bind here because I represent the taxpayers. Are you all Huntington residents or some Smithtown? Smithtown too? All right. I represent the Huntington taxpayer. And Huntington taxpayers, as well as Smithtown taxpayers, you pay county taxes. And part of that is to the Department of Public Works. You pay for those roads to be done in the taxes. You also pay a highway tax to the town you live in. Well, you shouldn't be paying twice for one road. And so it should be either or. And that's been part of our argument. We've been talking, we've been sitting with them, we're trying to negotiate this out. We did take an active role with trying to get law enforcement to be much more attuned to the needs of Town Line Road and to some of the community.
That lasted a short period.
Wait, let me just finish. And then you'll ask or you'll tell me basically what you feel. From what comes back to me, it seemed to be somewhat effective this end. I know that I had some carters, the carters that were coming into the office that got summonses because they were on that road at times they were not supposed to. And we've enforced that. They got summonses. They had to pay them. I'm told the enforcement went in, but like everything else, and we have a lot of communities that have some concerns. We get PD, they come in, they do usually come in for a period of time. And then if they do go, it comes back again. What we try and do is keep bringing them in so that eventually this thing normally settles down. But we will work with the county. It's their road. One thing that I can't do, and I said I don't sugarcoat, is take the garbage trucks off Town Line Road. It's a route. They would have to be diverted through residential areas. And some of the residential areas are in Smithtown. And my garbage trucks are not going to be welcome that much. Now, I know Vecchio is not too thrilled with that. So we've got to find some other ways. And the first way is to really see how we can coordinate with the county, get this paving thing settled, and get the maintenance settled. We're not saying we want all this back money. No, we're not going to do that. We're just saying going forward, you want to pave it, we'll work with you. You want us to pave it, then you're going to have to reimburse the town and the taxpayers.
Could I just cut you off for a second?
Sure.
The road's already been paved, so why is that an argument at this point?
The entire thing has not been. There's still some, no, let me explain.
From Pulaski to Jericho Turnpike, the whole thing is been
Okay,
paved.
but, yes, but other than that, it hasn't. And then there's another issue. This is an underlying road. It's gonna have to be redone eventually.
Yeah.
Just to do a coating of paving is one thing, but it's gonna have to actually be brought up. And that's the big problem that we're working with, plus maintaining it. The maintenance of these roads are very, very expensive. And every winter, you've got to do something. This winter, you'll see. What'll happen, it'll
A lot of
start
potholes.
potholes already, and so they have to be maintained. And when you have a baseline road that needs to be redone, you're gonna get more of that, because the baseline roads have the cracks, the baseline roads collect the water, and that expansion gives you that problem. You wanna ask, why don't we do that, because,
Why don't you guys raise your hand and I'll,
Yeah.
I'll be.
on Town Line
He
Road,
lives on Town Line Road, so we'll start
I
with
live on Town Line Road.
okay.
I have several issues. Why are there trucks going up to Covanta at 5:30 in the morning? And they're getting in and out before 6 o'clock? When I call Covanta, they tell me you open up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, you should let us know that. AJ, take this down, the gentleman will get your name and
I've
number.
been through this.
Okay, but once we know that and we know what trucks they are, we'll handle that. They shouldn't be there at
I used to sit
5:30
my
in the
driveway
morning.
and follow it. I live on Town Line Road, 6 houses north of Borough. And I used to follow the trucks. I'd park outside with my lights out. And I'd follow them up to Covanta, 20 after 5:30 in the morning.
Well, they shouldn't be
And they
there.
went back past my house.
They should be there, those are the things we can take care of.
Well, why is that facility open if it's run by the town?
Well, it's not run by the town. Covanta
Well,
is,
one of your guys I spoke to,
is
that
it-
was in charge of,
they open at 7.
like heck they do.
Well, that's when they're supposed to open. But, all right, you have a complaint, it's a valid complaint. We'll get into it.
That's only one.
Anybody
Well,
else?
look
I think of more.
All right, John?
Frank, listen, if it's a county road, the last meeting we had in Northridge about the trucks, the county guy was there and told us they have no limit on trucks. They can't post signs. There is no limits to trucks as long as it's a county road. So that's why I'm sure
Well-
you see the trucks at 5:30. And whatever garbage guy you said, the cops, the sector cars here, will not give summonses to the trucks in the middle of the night. They won't do it.
Well, they have given them because we've gotten them from the Carters. But when it comes to posting the road, we can't post on that.
Exactly.
I
And the
listen,
signs that are on the road are useless.
although we can restrict the time, but the county has to step up to that because it's their road legally. Now, I tried this.
The county guy told us he can't restrict
let
the
me-
trucks
well-
because it's a county road.
Well, I'm not sure about that. One. Two, when I attempted several years ago to post signs and to restrict trucks south of the expressway on Commack Road, anybody lived in that area down there?
No, but we have commercial trucks.
Okay, no, yeah, I know you do. We could not do it. The county came down on us and was threatening to sue us. And we had to go in and we had to remove. And that's probably 10, 12 years ago.
But we are on the same page to say that Town Line Road is a different road than Commack Road. Commack's two roads in, 2 lanes in each direction. It doesn't have any schools.
It doesn't
Well,
really
we
make a
agree with
difference.
that.
Okay.
Town Line Road is a single lane road in each direction. It is not designed to take
But-
1,500
but
trucks, same
where-
trucks at 80,000
But
pounds.
where
up and down
you,
all day.
no, where you can't restrict is for local commerce. They are going to bring garbage to the plant, so you can't stop them.
Which is
But
benefiting
but you
Huntington.
can,
Send them down Jericho to Indian Head.
No.
Which Smithtown at our last meeting was more than willing to do.
no, well,
Mark
Smithtown is
Christmas at our last
not.
meeting, and they were more than willing
We're
to
not
do it.
willing to take trucks and send them to Indian Head around. The extensive cost that it would be to our collection program is extensive, and I'm not putting that on a Huntington resident's back.
Why would that be more money? I don't understand.
Because you have to go around, you have to eliminate.
It's actually,
It's one
well, as you know,
mile.
we met many times, so I'm.
Yes, we have. But let me, before you go into that,
Okay.
okay? First of all, Smithtown will not go for that. They're not gonna go for that. Vecchio is not in favor of going on Indian Head Road. One. Two, you have other civic associations there in Smithtown that will fight that.
Actually, if we had Kings Park, another one here, for it.
Well, not
Yeah.
the ones I've spoken to at Fort Salonga.
Okay.
And Indian Head Road is in Kings Park.
It's not in.
Right.
Not airports.
So when you,
But you have other residential areas up there.
When you say,
They're not affected by
when
the
you
truck.
say, the garbage trucks, are you talking about the Garofalo Carter type things?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not talking about that at all.
what are you talking about?
Okay, well, like we met with you and your associates and whatever, okay? We are not referring to any truck that would come to your residence. We're not talking about the Garofalo style
Okay.
truck. We're not talking about the FedEx UPS guy, the cesspool guy, the landscape
So the
guy.
garbage trucks you're not talking about?
No.
Okay,
No.
what are you talking about?
Well, I think
talking
you are,
about-
if they're
we are
using
talking
town
about-
line just to go and empty from another
No, they
from another
can,
area.
but they can. I mean, that's it's a commerce situation. You cannot restrict that under any law. You can't, as long as they're going there to do business and back. Now, if they're using it as a cut-through, and they're not doing business down there, that's another story.
But what would they be doing there in the first place?
Emptying their trucks,
At 5:30 in the morning.
not at 5:30 in the
It's-
morning, that's supposed to,
The time, I mean, is certainly
Yeah.
an issue in itself,
right.
okay? See, obviously, right now, Commack, or that particular road, is caught basically between three jurisdictions, okay? Smithtown has their own rules. You and I talked about the local delivery thing, okay?
Well, that's
Okay.
what this is.
Okay, in the Smithtown traffic laws, there is no term referred to as local delivery in a traffic law. And in Huntington side, there's no definition of what local delivery is there as well.
You can't restrict, first of all, if they go into a court of law, you can't restrict them from going on a road where they're doing business, where there's commerce. You can't. I've been through this on Old Walt Whitman Road
Okay,
several
but now
times.
Suffolk County, okay, like if you
Yeah.
said, okay, well, it's technically a Suffolk County road, okay?
Okay,
Now, I've spoken with Bill Hillman, okay, and in fact, you might have seen it, we were on Channel 12 News 3 or 4 weeks ago, okay, and you probably saw a report in Newsday about 2 weeks before that, specific to that road, okay? And a spokesman for Suffolk County said, yes, Huntington can restrict there. So,
they're wrong.
And it's
now,
in the state-
I haven't
it's in
seen
the-
anything
it's
just
in the
because
state law.
I did review Huntington's traffic law, and I also reviewed the contract that your garbage trucks and ash trucks have in Huntington, and there is no stipulation in there as far as what specific route that they have to take.
Once we change the route, it changes the contract. Really? And,
Well, how long? No, I didn't look specifically to
yeah,
what.
but it changes the contract. Once you change the route, you change the contract and the provision of the contract. One,
What if
and
the
two,
county does?
Yeah,
and
but-
two, we're not going up on Indian Head Road. We're not going into Smithtown. We're not gonna do that and go through the Smithtown communities, which is not.
It's a county road in Smithtown.
You share
Then
the
let, the county has to make those decisions.
Well, let me ask you this.
Wait, let me
Okay,
finish.
Okay.
I am not gonna put the people in the town of Huntington in a situation where I had a lawsuit, I was awarded by the judge a certain ruling. We are not gonna go in now and mess with that in any way so that can be turned around. What the county is looking to do is to show that we're taking responsibility for that road that doesn't belong to us, go back to court, and then throw it back on our back.
Would you give up that road?
I can't, it's not ours. Sure, it's not our road. It's theirs.
So.
I don't own it, I don't have it.
Okay, but is that, well, if it's not your road, then I don't understand the whole idea of what the trucks can do and not do. In other words, you're saying over here, I can't restrict them, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. But then what I'm saying, okay, well, if it's not your
No,
road,
because-
then you don't have the jurisdiction
No.
to actually even,
We have a jurisdiction of when basically they could utilize the plant. There's
That has nothing to do with the road.
Who put the signs up that restrict the trucks right now from 7 at night till 5 in the morning?
I think that was a coordinated thing going back with the county.
Coordinated between who?
County and the towns, both towns.
So you had some input, or you?
Yes, we did, but that was the county made the decision.
So if we had a coordinated thing between
Sure.
Smithtown, Suffolk County.
Not a problem.
Well, the
It's-
problem is they seem to both be on board, and they keep pointing the
They're
finger
not,
at you
well,
as being.
they're not
the
on
guy.
board, they're not on board when they want to take and change my contracts with my carters. It's none of their business.
I don't understand that.
But the minute I change a route is the minute that the contract changes, and then we're subject to increased costs.
What's the life of that, because although I did review it,
5 years,
and when is that up?
I think three more years.
But if it's a county road and the county restricts it, what are you gonna do about it? They're gonna make your garbage truck go on Indian Head Road, you're gonna have
They
no
can't,
service.
because they can't restrict commerce. They can't restrict commerce. It's a local, it's considered like a local delivery. And that has nothing to do with town, county, whatever. That's really basically New York State.
So what happens in this case? Let's say those trucks are going, as you know, Old Walk
Can you
Road
take some
comes
other
up.
questions?
Yeah.
You know, from off.
Yeah, all right, I am gonna cut this off.
All right, let-
Because I have a limited time, and there's other things that we want to talk
All
about.
right, quick.
Okay, who in the county should we be talking
The
to?
county executive,
Steve Malone.
yeah,
All right, so let's get him in here, and let's get somebody to make a commitment to take the problem and not dump it off
Yeah.
on either Huntington or Smithtown.
exactly. But I have to be honest with you. It's gonna be a situation where you're not gonna see garbage trucks leaving Town Line Road. Because it's not gonna happen.
All
I
right.
don't think the issue that we're talking about here is garbage trucks.
Okay.
No, it's not.
What are the other,
The
what
other
is the
trucks
other?
are all of the business, that's all the way down Town Line Road, and you have the
Okay.
sand trucks and the 18.
Right.
That's how you answer
You
your
know, I was
That's
just at
Petrone.
a Smithtown planning meeting. Now, Asphalt Paving wants to put a storage site on his thing. You're talking about 6 times a day, 6 trucks, every, 6 times will be bringing and dropping off storage containers.
Okay,
18
now-
wheels. Those are the kinds of trucks I
Okay.
think that most of us are concerned
All
about.
right, now, again, they're there, it's hard to restrict the commerce because it's considered the local delivery, although, when they come in for an expansion, they have to go to the respective town for that expansion. And go through the planning board process, you name it. That could be an issue in terms of the fact that the traffic or whatever. That could be an issue and a concern that could be looked at.
All I just want to say is, you yourself as an elected official, and our government has elected officials, they make laws for reasons, and they change laws for reasons. I'll tell you a brief story. 4 years ago, I went to an elected official and said, we need to stop prescription pills. And they said, well, we can't do that. We can't put it out there. There's HIPAA laws and this, so forth. You can't do it, you can't do it. About 6 months after that, Medford happened. Wow, all of a sudden we have an I Stop law. We can make laws. That's why we have government officials that are supposed to do is make laws to safeguard our community. And I don't see anybody, whether it's Smithtown, whether it's Suffolk County, or Huntington, who is doing anything to safeguard our community. That's the bottom line.
Safeguard meaning what?
Meaning what? If an 18-wheel, I have buses on that road all day long, all day. Early in the morning, I got a high school, I have 3,000 children on that.
And they've been there for many years.
In 2 schools, in 2 schools. That is the size of some school districts on Long Island. That's just 2 of our schools, 3,000 children. Oh yes, Santa Maricia's has less, a lot of school districts have a lot less.
They also don't have the roads and everything else like that.
Right, so my concern is this, if one of those 18-wheelers, and we now do have the weigh station down there, and they have been stopped, and they have been ticketed and so forth, and that is a help. They are driving with bad brakes, they are driving with dangerous situations. If that happens, who is going to be held responsible for this? And that is where you have to safeguard the people that live in our community.
But safeguarding means stopping it entirely?
Yes.
Oh, not a bad idea.
No, you can't do that.
You could reroute
Yeah, we should-
You rerouted in Huntington, you rerouted down.
I'm not rerouting it down
But
to the
Daly
residential
Road was-
street.
It's not a residential street, it's
Daly Road
still a
was-
residential street that
Can I
you're
ask you a
rerouting
question?
on.
I'm not rerouting
Indian
it
Head
to
Road
another
is not a
town.
residential, it's not a
I can't
residential
bring it to
road.
another town.
Why not? If they're
Because I have
agreeable to it.
I have
They're
a
agreeable-
contract, and I'm not taxing my people.
Can I ask?
Well,
to do
I'm one of
that.
your people, and I'm still trying to figure out how you're saying
too.
we're taxed.
Because the cost of the contract will increase. And then your garbage taxes are gonna increase.
How much will the contract?
Oh, I have no idea, I can't tell
Because
you.
the difference is, it's actually 1.7 miles each way.
But it's just a whole different thing. You know, I think we've exhausted this.
Can I just?
Yes, you can. I think you've heard what I've said. Nothing's gonna happen until the county and the towns come together.
Well, what do you need
You
to
know, you
hear
sound
from
like
the
a
town and the
superintendent of
county?
garbage that I spoke to town.
What do I need to hear from the
Yeah, what do you
county?
need?
That's their road and they're responsible for it.
And how will that affect the restriction on trucks?
It can't be restricted because there's commerce on that route. And they will be, the courts will rule that they could use that route because the facility is on that road. I'm telling you, I know, I've been through this.
But it's not like they cannot, that they don't have other access points to that same facility.
The other access points are not feasible at this point. I've given you the reasons, and that's it. I've exhausted this, yes.
One thing that you might want to drive down Town Line Road, it is a residential block. I live there,
Oh, I
I saw
know.
all these people.
My
It's
wife
homes.
used to be the director of Pumpkin Patch Nursery School.
It's homes and it's two schools, so it's a little frustrating to hear you're getting a little belligerent about,
I'm not
I don't want to
belligerent.
send it
I
down
just
a
don't-
residential road.
No, because you want to dump it somewhere else.
Well, it's a 4-lane road.
Well, I could show you,
versus a
I could
2-lane
show you
road.
roads that are narrower in Huntington that
It's a
have more
county road that's a
schools.
4-lane
That
versus
have
a
more
2-lane.
schools and have traffic all
That's
day
why
long.
we were thinking it was a
Do
little
they
more
have big
appropriate for
18-wheeler
18-wheel
sand
trucks.
trucks?
There's the trucks
We
in
just
all
Well,
said-
over.
it's not this,
let
have
you
you
know.
ever dropped off a little kid K through 2 on Town Line Road to Northridge Primary School? You know, you haven't. And
Those-
it's dangerous. You get out of your car and they
Right. Those-
50 miles an
We've
hour.
got to deal with that, but the trucks have been there long before the school.
Well, so we've been in business with commercial trucks for 35, 40 years, and we were always going down Daly Road in the town of Huntington for 20 years, and then all of a sudden it changed, because the laws changed. And now we can't drive our trucks down Daly Road. We need to go around
What trucks?
Commack Road, commercial trucks.
You
Commack
drive
Road-
commercial trucks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
now we need to go down Commack Road and Jericho Turnpike, and guess what? My husband makes an effort to stay off Town Line Road. He's one of because he has children that go to school on that road. He does it, do not do it
If
every
you
day.
have
It
local
takes
business, you
more
can go on
time.
the road. That's the rule.
And we do, but that doesn't, we still make an effort to stay off the road because there's children. He goes around. Does it take that much more money in your
We
gas?
just had an
fuel?
accident by the school only 6 days ago, and the woman's car landed into the back
What was
wheels.
the accident from?
A 18-wheeler dump truck landed up hitting a woman, okay, who I was going to church at the time, because I knew her. Her car landed up in the back wheels, just bounced off, whatever. Thank God she wasn't killed.
Right.
And he just came off the light just a short distance away. So it was probably maybe just like 100 yards or so, or whatever. I mean, you have a very heavy truck like that, you're not going to stop, obviously, like a car on there. And again, we are not trying to
No, I know what you're saying.
eliminate.
It's frustrating for all of us, okay? It really is, because there has to be some compromise solution to this that will come, and we've had a difficult time because of the legal battlements that we've been in. And I have to protect, along those lines. I have to protect. I will not give up on this. I'll give you a commitment that I'll continue to work with it and look for that solution. And I will.
Well, what do you need us to bring to you? Like, if we bring to you the county, somebody from the county and somebody from Smithtown, and they're agreeable to put the restriction on Town Line Road, will you stand with them and also put the restriction on the road?
As far as we could put a restriction on the road, I've said we can only do so much. It's a local access that they have a right to go to. We can't restrict it. They're doing business right on that road. And that whole thing down there is all commercial.
Frank, but in that case, what would be the compromise?
The compromise here is to try and get enforcement, to a little bit better enforcement, to look at that, to do more postings on the road in terms of speed.
Nobody pays attention to signs.
Well, listen, then that's where we have to get the police maybe to patrol it a little bit more than they patrol it. And it was effective when they're there.
All right, Wendy has a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I have a pamphlet to give you because everybody likes to say, oh, statistically, it's going to cost a lot of money. I happen to route trucks for a living too, and there's the statistics on how much it's going to cost. We have statistics in here such as.
But do you know, but I have, we have a contract, I'm talking about a
Well,
contract.
that's fine. I'm not
Yeah.
worried. This has absolutely nothing to do with town of Huntington garbage trucks. It's
Okay.
all about the commercial entities that live on that road, that have permitted facilities, and what they're doing. 18% of the material that winds up on Town Line Road came out of Queens. Why does it come out of Queens? Because it costs more money to take a bridge and go over to New Jersey than it does to come out here and dump solid waste here. All right? There are 129 houses on Town Line Road that face or have direct side on Town Line Road, and there are only 27 such homes on Indian Head Road. All right? There's a nominal cost. For the tonnage for the privates, it would be 17 cents a ton. They do over 1 million tons a year worth of business. 17 cents a ton when they're not spending $75 to pay a toll and go across the bridge to New Jersey. It would cost them nothing to loop it around and go up IndianAd Road.
You're talking about the commercial trucks.
Just commercial.
On the
That's
other,
what we're
okay.
really focused on.
Eighteen-
You don't care about the
That's
garbage
the
trucks.
problem.
We don't care about
Okay,
that.
okay.
18-wheelers, 18-wheelers.
Now, I'm glad, I understand it, I didn't understand that.
Right, we don't care, we're not concerned with the garbage.
Okay.
We really are concerned with these.
And you think they're coming from Queens?
18% of the material is coming from Queens according to the annual report for 2010. I don't have the current, but I looked at 2010, I looked at 2011, and it's 44,000 trucks per year if you consider totally loaded, semis going up there. 44,000 trucks per year in and out. Of the 5 facilities that are located on Town Line Road, I didn't even go into Kings Park and do any further. That's a
All right, and
tremendous
this is very
amount of
good,
traffic.
very valuable.
Well,
Like I
that
said,
also includes the pieces on how dangerous the diesel fumes are to our children's health, and a windrow that shows that the wind direction is primarily towards those schools from that road surface.
okay, we're talking about the facilities that are down near Pulaski, correct?
Yes.
Just want to
The
get,
old Indian Head Road over there.
we're talking about Indian Head Road facilities, and we're talking about,
Nothing on Indian Head Road, just basically,
Yeah.
by the surrounding the Covanta plant, there's basically maybe 5 or 6
Huge
people
pits
in
when
that
they come
area.
out and dump it.
all right, which,
Across the street from Commack.
yeah, which is Smithtown, it's not
It's
Huntington.
Smithtown, right, correct.
All right, okay, you know what?
The only
We've
person
got
you
it.
have on your side is the Covanta, everybody else is in
Everybody's
Right.
on the Smithtown side.
Right,
Yeah.
So they could take Indian Head Road. Smithtown.
They can what?
They could take that Indian.
They
Head
were all
Road.
going for Smithtown.
oh, the others,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not gonna argue you. I just can't change my garbage.
And we're not
But I will work
answering
with,
that.
I will also work with my carters. When there are problems, I will work with our carters. That was when we were one of the first to do districts. And we did this coordinating with Smithtown, going back, and part of it was so that we could control a little bit better. And I'll tell you, we give them summonses. There's an issue, they do an illegal dump, or they do something, they get fined right away. And we're very successful in doing that. I will get on this with the garbage trucks to see if we can put a protocol together that may be helpful. Maybe we can do a little bit more than we're doing. I'll also sit with Smithtown and the county, and let's get the argument settled on the road. And then when it comes to these other facilities, and I'm not copying that, I'm really not. What'll happen there is that they're under the jurisdiction of Smithtown, basically. They're permitted through Smithtown. They're not a Huntington facility. So it's really going to be into Smithtown. But I'll sit with Pat and I'll sit with them, and if we can speak with one voice, we will.
Would you be open to inviting one or 2 representatives of our organization to that meeting, or is that?
Well, I think I have to sit down on a governmental basis first.
Okay.
That'll be the first thing, to see if there's any room to do something. And then certainly, not a problem. You guys have been very cooperative, you've been very patient. That I can say. Really,
We're gonna move on to the next topic, because he has to leave shortly.
Yeah, this is the
I have to leave in about 10 minutes.
So the next
Mary
topic,
Paul Farm.
Oh, we're gonna make it a zoo.
Okay, when? When?
Actually, Marion Carl Farm, it's an issue, because it's still, actually, there's new litigation going on now. The family is suing, and what the family, I hear, this is just through the grapevine, what they want to do is block off part of the parcel, be able to develop part of it in order to bring revenue in where they can restore the main house. That's what I heard the latest thing was.
Yeah,
No one ever's coming here, I did some real checking.
I haven't heard that, but the heirs,
Go ahead.
what I understand, where they were suing the school, and we, as residents, countersued them. The judge made a decision based on the information he got from the school, which was inaccurate, but I have no problem with that. That's how lawyers operate. But we have a Marion Carl farm here. It's just lying fallow. The house is deteriorating because no one's maintaining it. It's the most valuable piece of property, I would say, right now, that's up for grabs in the township of Huntington. Now, I know you've been purchasing a lot of land which you're going to be using as parks. This land is already there. It can be a park, and it can be a museum. It certainly can be a community
See, you
center.
know, the problem is we're not going to look to purchase lands where we have to maintain them to the point where you have facilities and structures. It's just not, because it just costs us an inordinate amount of money. And unless there's a sponsor that does that will do that, that's how we're doing it. The Coltrane House in Dixon, you might have heard of that. The only reason we went into that because there was a group that was going to be the sponsor and was going to maintain it. Once we bought it, they'd be maintaining it. That's the problem with Marion Carl. Nobody really wants to go near it. Now, do you object if they get it and they redevelop it?
yes.
Is there a problem with that? I just want to know.
No.
See, actually, I have to really tell you, when it comes to Marion Carl, if that comes onto our plate, in any way, I probably won't be involved in it because I live at the hamlet. And it could be viewed that that I have a special interest of not having it or having it, we back it, you know, that type of thing.
So how does that work? You would abstain?
I would abstain.
So let me ask you a question, because we had Mr. Cook here, and we also reached out to Mr. Cuthbertson, and they were both interested in obtaining that property to put on the town rolls as a park in the
Right.
open space.
As long as they can have a sponsor probably to maintain it.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
So how do we make that happen?
Well, the way it happens is you go to the Open Space Committee
Okay.
as an organization and you put in a request. We have this committee deal with it, and then they make a recommendation to the town board.
Okay.
But look to see who a sponsor can be. See, that was the intention, I guess, of Marion Carl, to have the school take it so that they can use it for educational purposes. I believe. You know much more than I do.
The intent of Marion Carl was, like you said, have the school maintain it. Now, at one time, the school said it cost $200,000 a year to maintain it. And then we found out it was only $30,000 a year. I'd like to have a referendum saying, put up to residents to vote for it. Yeah, we would want the school to provide that $30,000. My hope is that we have enough residents who would be interested in getting that Marion Carl going and to follow what the requirements were on the will, which is very simple. A museum,
a 19th century farm that can show the kids, hey, this is how we get milk, this is how we get food, etc. It was very simple. I didn't think, but you know, now we actually had someone come in, a benefactor come in, and offered us $4 million for the development rights. The school turned it down because they had some other ideas what they were going to do.
Can't
Peter,
do
I don't know if you
that.
asked the past, I want to ask a quick question.
Sure.
If the school district was to say, here, Huntington Town, here is the property for $1, that property's probably valued at $3, $5, $6 million. Would you guys take it for free or for $1?
Not to maintain it.
And then,
We have to still have somebody
well,
maintain it.
part of the maintenance would be, Commack has nothing. We have nothing in this town. We don't have any community centers. We don't have any,
They really don't have them in other places either.
well, I think in Huntington proper they have.
Senior centers are
Senior
usually
centers.
in schools or churches. There's a main town-wide senior center that's on Park Avenue. That's for everybody in the town. But there aren't any community centers around town that's just for specific communities.
So if you would be able to get the park for free, the property, instead of buying the property for $5 million or whatever, millions of dollars, would that be something the town would look at?
But the only way that would be is if you followed then what the intent of Marion Call was when they gave it to the school district, which, well, let me finish, which means the town would have to repair it, the town would have to maintain it, would have to have a museum. No, it's very costly. It would, if there were a group.
There's a possibility that those restrictions will be removed when the suit is finalized with the school district.
But if they're removed, then you can just leave it as open space.
Excuse me?
If that's removed, it could just be left at open space. You do not have to restore it then. You don't have to have a facility there.
Yeah, but you wouldn't tear down a historic property, I would imagine.
They move houses, yeah, they move houses. But, you know, look, right now, my feeling is I think the family wants it back. That's what I'm getting. They don't?
They wanted to sell it.
Yeah, they want to sell it.
And you know who they want to sell it to?
Yeah. The Hamlet.
People where you have your house.
No, the Hamlet's not going to come in
They did
to that. The Hamlet wanted it once when it was owned by Mr. Monter. The Hamlet now, other than our individual units, which is a homeowners association, is owned, which we'd have to sign off on as a homeowners association. It's owned by Golf Corp, which owns 170 facilities throughout the country. So it's a big corporation. They're not coming in, they're not builders. They're not going to come in to build. The only reason they would want it is if they wanted to expand, let's say, the golf course, or they want to do a new clubhouse, which is really an ideal place for a clubhouse. I'm talking to you. I think the clubhouse is fine where it is.
So the process is to go meet with the
Open Space
Space Committee?
Yeah.
And eventually they bring
They'll
to the
look
town.
at it, they let us know what's coming, and they'll make a recommendation. But I'm going to tell you, they're probably going to make a recommendation. If you come into this, bring sponsors that are going to fix it and maintain it. Like a museum outfit, or like, you know who used to do this a lot up in Comstock Park, Queens College? Because they use that for cultural things, and they use it for educational purposes. You need an educational group that's going to see the value of that facility for educational purposes.
This open space committee, would they have contacts with New York State, because New York State
Sure they would.
would be
And they research.
happy.
New York State would be happy to do
How do
what?
we start?
Wait, New York State would be happy for what?
To grant us money for this.
Would they?
They already have. They did already.
There's the Parks and Restoration in New York State.
They paid $500,000 to refurbish the bar.
Okay, if they want to do this and be the sponsor, refurbish it, and have a site there, I'll stand right with them. I'm saying,
Our
if there's,
goal is to try and get it out of the school district's
I
hands
understand.
and into the town's hands,
what
so that
about
the
keeping
people,
it in the school district?
they don't want any part of it.
Why not, if they make it an education?
They feel it's a burden
Who
on them.
has the over $1 million to repair the house? Do I take, as you're concerned about taking money from your taxpayers to
Okay.
garbage, we're concerned about taking money from our taxpayers to fix Marion Hall.
Okay.
We don't have $1 million.
But it was yours to do, and you took it originally.
Yeah, I don't think we need $1 million. I think.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
think this
I
is-
think we need
You know,
volunteers.
it's again, it's what this
But
would
again,
be is
that's
a
my thinking
combination.
was if you get the
Yeah.
$5 million property for free, now you saved $5 million you could have spent to buy the property.
It-
So you'll give us back something to fix the place up a little bit, no?
Maybe, maybe not. It depends what has to be done. What we do when we have facilities and when we have sponsors, we permit them to take, and caretakers can live. They have to pay so much a month to live in there. Yeah, they have it at Stony Brook as well, and that usually offsets some cost. It's not a dead issue. I think there's
We just
a
want to make sure
lot of discussion that
that
could
the
take place.
dialogue is open.
Sure.
And that you're approachable for on the topic.
Sure.
Do you by chance know anything about on the corner of Cedar Road and Caroline Road, there is I don't know if it's actually designated.
It used to
as
be
historic
Johnson's
house.
Farm.
Oh, yeah, that house.
I
It's
know
called Johnson's
my
Farm.
friend's grandparents.
Which one is it?
I think it's
Cedar
Pelkowski.
Road and Town Line Road. It's a
Cedar and
historical
Town Line.
house.
Somebody
that the car
was
drove
living in
through.
it and a car went through it.
Yes.
It burnt down.
We're
No,
not-
that's where the big fire went through the
I can tell you what's going on.
AJ, somebody
That's owned by-
ran their car through it and it ran, basically destroyed, someone was actually living in it at the time.
Yes.
We've sued the owner of the property, I think.
Okay.
So, that's a historic property, and they're required to maintain it.
If it's a historic district,
The guy's in jail.
Yeah, he's in jail, it's a problem.
He's upside down, he owes all the money, he owes $1 million on the
Yes.
house, they're upside down in the house, the house is in
I know what they
foreclosure
want.
along with the historic property. You're not getting anything
You're
out
not
of
gonna
it.
get any money out of somebody.
He's got 24 months.
well, they'll get the house is what they'll get.
Yeah, eventually.
Drunk driver went through there.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to run.
Thank you for
I would
coming.
like to do this again.
Okay.
Please come back.
Yeah, I mean, just the dialoguing is really good. You may not agree with me 100%, I may not agree with you, but one thing you do get is that we will talk and that we find ways to do things. That we come up with some solutions, like Marion Call. That whole thing now is ripe and open for discussion.
Very good.
Nobody's closing the door on that.
Thank you.
Who
Appreciate that.
dedicates the Joseph Lloyd house, and like the Huntington Cross?
The Joseph Lloyd house up in Lloyd, that's probably a historic association.
Oh, okay.
Historical societies. I'm wondering, did Commack have a historical society? Wait, they have the historical cemetery.
No, Smithtown has it.
Actually, the school has started historically.
Okay.
In
All right.
fact, well, we're thinking of taking advantage of your, I guess you have someone in charge of documents in the town.
Oh, yeah, we do. And we'll coordinate with you, work with you. They want to start a group like that, we're more than
Yeah.
happy. Because that's how you get sponsors, that's how it starts. Then they go out for grants, and all of a sudden, they're bringing money in. And it works, it really works, but
But we have somebody who's a grant writer, and they're just waiting for it to come out of limbo so we can start moving.
that's great. Could you raise money to be a sponsor? The organization?
Yeah, I'm sure we could if we need
All right,
to.
hey, look,
That's a start.
Thank you for coming.
thank you,
Appreciate it.
really, thanks so much.
I guess we'll take a break.
You will, thank you so much. Sure.
Yeah, that's a minute.
Sure. All right, we're gonna continue on. We were expecting legislator Trotter to show up. I think he might be en route. I don't know, his number one man is over there, so maybe he'll give us an update. But Wendy has something she wants to address.
Dressed very
The crowd
well
first.
Anyway, if any of you guys want, this is 3 of the 4 pages that I gave to Frank Petrone. What the deal is that this is statistically how inexpensive it is for the trucks to be rerouted around the route that everybody says, oh my, we can't do that. And it also shows things like the fact that you've got 27 houses that are direct impact on Indian Head Road and 129 on Town Line Road. So these kind of statistics are here. I took the labor rate for truck drivers out of the New York State database and said, here's how much it would cost extra for the truck driver's time, here's how much extra fuel would be burned, that kind of statistics is in this particular sheet. This is sad. This is one of those things that makes me want to cry. This is about diesel air pollution, okay? The pollution coming out of the trucks. And this is a map that shows you, if the straight line in the middle was Town Line Road, this is how much of the wind comes in from the west aimed at the school buildings. So any of those trucks that are burning diesel, that are going past the school, it's almost a guarantee that the noxious fumes that are coming off of the trucks are being directed into the school buildings. Okay? And this is all the nasty on diesel. And essentially what happened was, there's other entities here, but the state of California did the research for the EPA about diesel for the most part. And this was a key component. This is a synopsis of the research that was a key component on the United States trying to reduce and change impacts from diesel emissions. And it proves that it's an asthma precursor and it's a cancer precursor. Very nasty chemicals. So every day those kids go to those two school buildings, they're being exposed to carcinogens and things that can give them asthma. And that's happening because the town of Huntington, Suffolk County, and the town of Smithtown will not regulate the truck traffic on that road because it's interstate commerce. New York works. We've got jobs. And, kids get sick in the meantime, you can blame groundwater. So anyway, thanks for your time, and if you want one,
Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
All right, Mike, you got anything to tell us? Anything good happening in county life?
Just got a call from Rob, so hopefully he's on his way. It's interesting about the diesel fuels because when I was active with the Kings Park Civic, and you're absolutely right, by the way, the diesel fumes are carcinogenic. And sure. And believe it or not, the school buses are really the worst offenders in the towns. So I tried for over a year to get the Kings Park School District to change their start buying natural gas school buses and start retiring some of the old diesel buses. Because when the diesel buses go by in the morning, I smell those diesel fumes and they're pretty bad. And I used to run at the high school very early in the morning years ago when I was much younger. And those buses have to warm up for a period of time. And the diesel fumes hanging over the Kings Park High School, because the Kings Park bus garage is right in the back part of the high school property. The fumes would just sit there on a calm day. Pretty nasty stuff. So that's something we certainly would love to work on county level. Smithtown has done a pretty good job. Supervisor Vecchio actually has signed contracts with the sanitation department that picks up all Smithtown's garbage. That they're required to be natural gas sanitation trucks. You barely hear those trucks when they go by in the morning. There's very, very little exhaust. You don't smell anything. So Smithtown has done a good job on that. Hopefully Huntington will follow suit. As far as the trucks go, I had a conversation with the supervisor as he walked out, and he expressed a willingness to compromise on the trucks. But he did emphasize that there is no way that he's going to take the sanitation trucks off the road. And so we can compromise, and I think that's the conversation we had here last time. If we can get Huntington to agree to take out the 18-wheelers, or take the 18-wheelers off the road, or limit the maximum weight to 20,000 pounds, something along those lines. And I had conversations with the planning department over at Smithtown about this. Something that's reasonable. He might go along with it. Obviously, Smithtown has already agreed.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Frank is hesitant, whether it's contracts he already has with his existing trucking companies or something else. We're not sure yet, because Rob is going to meet with him probably in the next week or two, and we'll get more information at that point. But hopefully, over the next several months, and I can't promise you that this will happen, but we'll try to reach some sort of a compromise. with the town of Huntington, and see where that goes. The plan, are we meeting tomorrow night? You're going to be at the library?
Yes.
Kingsbrook Library. So certainly limiting truck traffic on Commack Road is part of the overall.
Town Line Road, not Commack.
I'm sorry, Town Line Road, I said Commack Road. Town Line Road is certainly part of the overall improvement plan for the Kings Park industrial area, along with a lot of other things that we discussed last time I was here. So hopefully there's a lot of things on the agenda. Rob's been in office for about 3 weeks and we've been hit from all sides. There are a lot of things going on, whether it's over at Nisqually River State Park, whether it's Main Street and bringing sewers to downtown Kings Park, downtown Smithtown, the truck traffic on Town Line Road, the development over on Lawrence Road and Old Northport Road and the problems they're having over there with some of the industrial uses. There's a lot going on. And Rob's been in this for 3 weeks. We're going to try to address all of it. Hopefully we'll have some success because, as you know, government moves very slowly. Rob and I are very impatient, and we think a lot of these things are pretty cut and dry and should be able to be resolved in a rather quick fashion. But unfortunately, in government, that doesn't happen, and we know that being involved with civics. But we'll do the best that we can. If Rob comes within the next, 5 or 10 minutes, you guys ending the meeting now, or?
We're here till 9. If he shows up, if he doesn't show up, we'll probably adjourn a little earlier. Do you know if Rob got up to speed on Town Line Road? Because, I don't know, we weren't here when Petrone was going back and forth, but there's some ownership issues where the towns have been maintaining those roads for 50, 60 years, and now in the last 2 years, they've objected to it and they formed it back on the county.
Right.
And I know the county this summer, they repaved the whole 3-mile stretch of Town Line Road, so right now the road's beautiful.
Right.
But with the heavy traffic on it, a road that's not meant to take traffic from heavy trucks, it's going to be torn up within a year or two, I would imagine.
Right. So again, we don't have all the details. We're being filled in gradually as we go along here, but I believe Huntington sued the county.
Correct.
Right?
They won.
And they won. I'm hearing, I don't know if this is true or not, that the county might open it up.
Well, they in turn sued Huntington to get the money back for repaving the road.
Right. Now, I don't know, we have to have a conversation with Suffolk County DPW, Department of Public Works, to see if they're going to try to have that overturned, that ruling. We've heard that may be the case. I'm not sure.
Is that Gil Anderson?
Yeah, Gil Anderson, yeah. So, but we'll find out more in the next week or two. And the next meeting will come back, or before that, as soon as we find out, we'll let you know. You can let your members know. Obviously there's disagreement over, who's going to maintain that road. Smithtown seems to be more interested in working with you guys, and Huntington, for the reasons that I guess Frank outlined, is not.
Is Smithtown even involved anymore? There was a time when they said Town Line Road was just split right down the middle, half to Smithtown, half Huntington.
Right.
Now I find out.
Yeah, you have two jurisdictions. One believes they have the right to the traffic laws. Okay.
That's Smithtown.
The others don't believe they have the right to traffic laws.
That's something.
No, I was talking about the actual land itself, the road. It originally was, according to the county, it was originally, the Town Line Road was strictly Huntington property. And then the county said that we'll maintain, since it is costly, and since it's used by both Smithtown and Huntington residents, that they would pay for the maintenance. Now I hear the fact that they pay for the maintenance, they want to sue the town of Huntington that they should pay it since it's their property. And we're up in the air as to what the heck is going on. But it seems that Smithtown is not involved with any of the costs associated with Town Line.
Right.
They are, they're just not complaining about it.
Now,
of course, why would he?
Now, Mr. Petrone said something interesting. He said he would wash his hands of the whole road.
Mm-hmm.
And
Maybe something we
Well,
could
he
look
said-
into is maybe
he's
Smith
talking about
Town would
both
take
sides
the
of his
entire
mouth.
road over.
He's talking about both sides of his mouth. He
Yeah.
says, yeah, he'll wash his hands, but it's commerce, you still can't allow, so, you know, it's,
But do you think Smithtown will take the entire road? Can't. Why?
well,
Because
yes,
half of it-
no,
Isn't half of it in the town of Huntington?
Yes.
So how can they take
It's
the
all
road?
right.
But if Petrone doesn't want it, and he's saying,
I don't think, I
It's
think
not
he
on
was
a
just
road.
saying that to say it. Honest to
Yeah.
God, what I heard loud and clear was his deal with Covanta and those haulers is the most important thing to him, period. And so if we can figure out a way, whether it's through the county or through Smithtown, your guys' help, to somehow put some kind of compromise, some kind of restrictions that don't affect his deal with the haulers, I think he'll leave us alone. I don't think it's gonna help us, but I think he'll be like, do whatever you want as long as you don't mess with my haulers.
I think,
and that's the conversation
I think if you landed up with a deal with them, okay, right now there's 40 to 50 ash trucks that go up and down that road, okay? Again, I don't know what type of revenue Huntington is getting from that, but if you just said, okay, you can have that in Commack residents, okay, you can handle 40, 50 trucks a week. Now, all the other trucks that are there are not going to Commack. And most of those trucks are independent truckers. So you can certainly control those.
Right.
I mean, for a start, I personally, since I live right there, will be happy to get the majority of the trucks off and then allow them to have their little whatever they need for 3 more years.
Right.
Until he's out of office because he's not running again and the contract is up. So,
Well, that we may be able to do.
See, and I live on Town Line Road, anything would be better than what we have right now, you know what I mean? So I'm totally, that's great if we can do that, and it's a long-term plan to try and get the others
You know,
to be a little bit better.
we're talking, you know, probably 10 years, maybe a little bit more than that. But, you know, eventually, I think we had this conversation last time, the Brookhaven landfill is going to close. And there'll be nowhere else to bring the ash because landfills right now are outlawed on Long Island. You can't build a new landfill on Long Island.
I thought the ash goes out of state.
No, I believe that ash goes to Brookhaven, either Brookhaven or Babylon. Babylon still has an active landfill as well. That's going to close probably within the next 10 years. So eventually that ash is going to have to go out of state. And this improvement plan includes running a railroad spur into the industrial area to take that ash out of state on a rail car. So 10, 15 years from now, there might be no trucks carrying ash on Town Line Road, or Indian Head Road for that matter. So it's just a matter of time. Taking the ash from the plant and bringing garbage to the plant, that's all, providing a service to our residents, whether you live in Smithtown or Huntington. It is part of commerce and it needs to happen. But I think we can strike some sort of compromise to limit trucks on Commack Road. Remember, I've heard a lot of complaints from the people who live on Indian Head Road. And they're saying, well, what are you going to do? You're going to put all the trucks on Indian Road? I live on Indian Head Road. You're not considering where I live? So again, there has to be some sort of a compromise. I think Indian Head Road is 2 lanes in each direction and it's built to carry those trucks.
yeah, because Indian Head Road is it's engineered to the specs.
It is. And one of the reasons why it was
Of a
built.
county road, and from Jericho to Turnpike to Old Northport Road, there's only 3 houses physically up until that point. I'm not talking beyond the road, I'm talking right where you would turn off, so there's only 3 houses.
Right.
As compared to what we know Town Line Road to be, 100-something houses.
Right.
37 feet wide. You can't even,
Plus 2 schools.
you know, in fact, the
But
other day,
the most important part to me personally
Yeah.
is just the fact that there's these trucks past schools.
Right.
And then we have a high school where you have kids that just got their licenses and they don't really have the judgment that somebody who's been driving for 30 years has. And they pull out of the parking lot and they get T-boned by a car is bad enough, but to get T-boned by an 18-wheeler is horrendous. You have kids that walk home from school, so they're crossing the intersection.
Walkers from the high school, that's.
you know that car accident I talked about before? Okay. It must have happened a minute before I got there. Do you know that even at the car accident where I was kind of slow trucks and cars down, this jet sanitation truck comes up the hill, past Northridge or whatever, that's doing like 50 miles an hour. We're trying to slow traffic up here.
And these are school zones where the speed limit's 20 miles an hour, right?
They also, what we need to do also is when Smithtown put those temporary electronic speed signs,
Yeah.
okay? We need permanent signs
So we
there.
had those. and
Well,
and
they weren't
broke.
permanent, they were temporary.
Well, they had some permanent ones mounted on the poles, and
Yeah,
somebody
they-
broke them and they never replaced them.
Yeah, well, that's temporary.
What about speed cameras?
They were there to meter the traffic and see what the speed was. That's how we got the report from
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Brown.
I think you need better enforcement. And I know Rob has already spoken to the inspector at the 4th precinct about providing better enforcement on Town Line Road.
The problem with that is,
You need
is that the highway cars are out there, they stop 2 or 3 people.
Right.
They're on the CBs and the truckers start using Jericho to Indian Head. They
Right.
stay off town line.
Well,
So
you
the
know-
only people getting the tickets are the residents.
I was just gonna say, once those
You know,
cars pull over into the trucks.
Sawmill School, okay, has the permanent speed signs there. And they don't have nearly the traffic that Town Line Road has. Almost 15,000 vehicles per day.
Yeah, those are the signs they
There's
had.
absolutely no reason why that those signs should not be permanent in the places where they were. I know me, okay, what my driving habits are. If I see a sign and I'm going over the limit, it's gonna slow me down. So, it works. And they should be there permanently. And I'm gonna fight for that.
Who put those up initially? Was it Smithtown Huntington?
Smithtown did it.
But there's nothing saying that the county can't do it as well. I mean,
Well, that's the trick. That's the issue, is, who's responsible? Is it the county or the town?
technically it's a county road, so.
Well, technically, it's a county road, but, I mean, if we're going to, and again, these are all the details that have to be worked out. If we're gonna get the towns involved somehow to limit the truck traffic, then the county's gonna have to step back. To what extent, I don't know yet, and that's something we're gonna have to
You
figure
know
out.
what, it's all a matter of understanding your own traffic laws within your own town.
Mhm.
I reviewed theirs, okay? It's pretty much identical to what's in Smithtown.
Right.
They have the jurisdiction, okay, to do exactly what Smithtown does. Pass a resolution and limit the size of vehicle, the weight, whatever it is.
But can they do that if it's a county road?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, they can.
And the spokesperson from Suffolk County said so.
Is that right?
Not only in the paper, but also on Channel 12 News when we did the interview a few weeks
Okay,
ago.
well, that's good to know.
So, now to try and get something in writing, okay, from them, it's a different story.
Mhm.
Because I'd like to talk for the media,
Right.
but then when you go to grab something in black and white, it's like you can't get it for some reason.
Well, I think if we can get Huntington and Smithtown and the county to agree on some sort of a resolution that limits trucks, 20,000 pounds and over, 18 wheels, whatever, and then law enforcement knows what those rules are, it will be easier for the police department to enforce the rules because they know exactly where they stand. And so I think that's the direction we have to go.
See,
There has to be some consistency.
Frank's compromised also, okay? I've had several meetings with him.
Okay.
Okay, he made it sound like what we just told him about what vehicles we wanted and didn't want was like the first time he heard it. Okay, now, that's not the way it is, okay? I already explained to you many times what we wanted, so, sometimes it's like
So
a
you've
game
been-
that goes back and forth like
You've
this.
asked them for a compromise in the past?
Yeah, well, I told him what we wanted to restrict and what we did not want to restrict
I see.
on there already. So like I said, what he heard tonight was no different than what he heard before.
Right.
I don't know if he's trying to sell his cooperation here tonight or not,
Right.
but what was said tonight was said before, but okay, let's give him an opportunity.
Okay.
So what do you need from us as a group?
Bless you.
Do you need us to continually call you and hound you, to continually call Rob's office?
You can certainly do that.
No, but what I'm saying is you're
He's
here,
gotten a lot of that already.
but you're here, and you heard the issues. Now, when you leave, it's gonna get relayed to Rob,
Right.
and then, like, if the squeaky wheel gets the oil, if we don't continually squeak, is it just gonna be forgotten about, or is it something that gets put on his agenda?
I'll tell you
Yes,
right now, it's not going to be forgotten about, because, first of all, getting this plan through, this Kings Park Industrial Area Improvement Plan through is extremely important. You guys are most of you guys are aware of the issues over there, and they have to be resolved. And so, part of that plan includes Commack Road, excuse me, Town Line Road. And so it's not going to be forgotten. It's important. And it's not just Town Line Road. It's Meadow Glen Road. getting rid of the railroad crossing that we discussed up on, Meadow Glen, coming in from Pulaski from the north. Gaining some control and establishing some regulations in the Kings Park industrial area that improve our quality of life and help to improve commerce in a positive way. We're trying to find that balance. It's very difficult to do. And the only way we're going to do it is by working together. Nobody's going to get exactly what they want. We're all going to have to be willing to compromise a little bit, but I think it's achievable. I really do.
And here what was the containers you're talking about?
Yeah, there was,
Kings Park?
yeah,
There's a proposal to put a storage area back by the incinerator, one of those properties that they use. They want to use it to store shipping containers. I think something to the effect like 600 or 700 containers, stacked 3 high.
yeah, I mean, there's no way that property, it's 4 acres, could handle 600 containers. So that was, it was unusual that that in their proposal, they listed that amount of containers would be stored on the property, which is just not practical. Certainly, I think all the civics, I don't know if you guys were involved, I wasn't there that night, but I know many of the civics went there and they opposed that plan. And it was a little bit over the top. First of all, it's way too high. Town code only allows storage up to 6 feet. They wanted, I believe, 24 feet. Again, the number of containers, there's no way, there's just no way the property could handle that number. There was no front setback, so they didn't include a buffer, a green buffer or vegetation in front to hide the containers from the road. That's something that the Kings Park Civic had recommended to them when they came to present this plan to the Kings Park Civic last month. So a lot of those things weren't included in the original proposal. When they went up in front of the zoning board and the town board, they indicated that they would do those types of things. The height. I don't know where the BZA is going to go on that, and whether or not they're going to
get the containers there when it be town line.
Trucks.
Yeah.
On town
So that's our issue.
Like, where do you guys stand with that? That seems to me to be.
Well, actually, the owner of the property said that he wouldn't use Town Line Road, he would use Indian Head Road. So he did mention that to us. He said he had no problem keeping the trucks off of the Town Line Road. It wouldn't be his business, he would lease it out, but he would make that a requirement. We also asked that he include a permanent structure on the property, because one of the things that we want to do in the improvement plan is prohibit office trailers. Office trailers are ugly, they don't produce any tax revenue, so if you're going to run a business on the property, you have to have a permanent structure on the property. So the owner of the property agreed to do that as well. So I don't know what they're going to decide. They may give them approval, even though the civics opposed it, pending that lower the overall height, put a nice buffer out in front, put a permanent structure on the property, do all the things that we're asking. They may approve it. I don't know.
So what was that? That was just a zoning hearing? And they just heard public comment?
Yeah, well, actually, what a lot of civics felt that he was trying to manipulate the zoning through variances. So he's zoned light industry, and you're allowed to have a trucking station, and he was trying to say that keeping these trailers on the property was in essence using his property as a trucking station. So he was looking to get a special exception to store these trailers on his property through a loophole in the law.
But my question is, where is it at in the governmental process? Is it
Right now, it was presented, I believe, to the BZA and Board of Zoning Appeals. So I would assume that at this point, they have to review it, decide whether or not they're going to approve it, make some changes, and then I believe it goes to the town board.
Were they pods or were they?
They're pods.
Containers?
They're empty containers.
Oh.
well,
But
it's full-size
would they-
shipping containers?
Yeah.
Would they take the ash that possibly would be coming out of the?
No, nothing to do with that.
Nothing?
Nothing to do with that. Empty containers.
But it's containers going up and down town line.
Right.
Yeah, those containers,
have that
this
already.
company is called Mini Storage or something.
Mini storage.
It's actually located on Jericho Turnpike right now. And the town has I don't know if they filed a suit or whatever, I don't know exactly where it stands with the town. in terms of wanting to limit their use on Jericho Turnpike. But again, the problems are height, I guess lack of a buffer or something like that. So I think it was suggested to them that they move their facility from Jericho to an industrial area. And that's why they're now looking in the Kings Park industrial area, because the town is trying to push them out of their current location on Jericho Turnpike in Commack.
Where are they on Jericho?
I believe it's just, it's east of the Mayfair Shopping Center.
Oh, it's in the.
On the right-hand side?
On the right-hand side,
Kind of like out hill kind of thing?
Yeah,
By the pool there?
yeah, but old,
Yeah, it's also.
yeah, I think that's what they currently are. Yeah, so they're trying to push them into industrial.
So will there be a chance for people to argue against it again, or is that time passed?
Well, I think that's kind of past.
So when you said that they said they would use Old Northport to Indian, is that something that
That's what they
is in
said.
writing, or they just said that to you?
Well, I mean, certainly your organization could write a letter requesting that if they decide to approve it, that you would insist that the trucks use Indian Head Road and not Commack Road.
That'd be much more practical if they're coming from the east of Mayfair.
The Town Line Road Association was there, Town Line,
Oh,
I don't know if you remember them, years ago, they tried, PPL tried to put a power plant down the block, which I was part of back then before this organization started. They were there, in a sense, representing, although their organization, kind of Commack as a whole, thumbs down on the project. So I got several emails that I read in regards to that. So it's not like because Noah was here that Commack was not represented.
Yeah. All the civics were opposed to that petition. And for good reason. I think it was a little bit over the top. It needed to be, there were a lot of things that needed to be addressed first before the town even considers an application like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're trying to come to some sort of agreement on improvement.
So one of the biggest problems is the township of Smithtown has failed, okay, any oversight in all these areas that we're talking about. They have allowed types of work to go on beyond what they were legally able to do. And that periodically over the years, when they were going to try and put a stop on that type of work, the judge actually judged in favor of the defendant, saying, well, look, you guys have been doing this type of work for 20 years. You haven't done anything. It's become a way of life.
Well, that's kind of what he said to us also.
Yeah.
He said, well, the trucks have been going on there for 20 years or 30 years, so.
Yeah, but that's different, though.
Yeah.
That's
Same.
different. Sounds the same, but that's
We
different.
tried to make it sound like.
Yeah, these are zoning and land use issues,
Right.
which the town is allowed to take place for decades, 30, 40 years in some cases.
And I spoke with Bob Creighton the other day, and they still, at this point right now, even though they had invited Frank DeRubius, who's the planning guy for Smithtown, presented the plan. Bruce and I were actually out, this is probably a year and a half, 2 years ago now, I think, something like that. And the council people at the time, the superintendent Vecchio, was unhappy with what he had presented. So what they did is they brought an outside consultant in and put a fresh pair of eyes on the whole area, and then what they had presented, they still didn't go for. So really in the end, the residents lose because no one has said, okay, you can do this, we can't do this, it's still up in the air right now. No one has made any decisions yet on what can be done on these properties.
And, and that's why we're trying to get all the civics to agree on some type of a plan. Because if the civics agree, then it makes it much easier for the town board to say, okay, let's do something. Because town board members, whether it's Supervisor Vecchio or Bob Creighton or Warham or any of the others, a lot of times they're reluctant to jump in because they're afraid of the pushback and the criticism from the residents. But if the civics agree on a plan, then it makes it much easier for them to support it.
I agree.
And that's what we're trying to do here. So, again, compromise is going to be important. Working together is extremely important. It's something that we haven't done in the past. And hopefully we can finally get something positive done. It's been too long.
Way too long. About 30 years too long.
Yeah. No question about it.
All right, so just to recap, Rob's going to work on our issue. Hopefully he's going to you're gonna fill them in, and it's gonna be part of the deal.
Absolutely.
We're gonna meet tomorrow, that's gonna be other civics that are gonna be in attendance for them?
Yeah, Fort Salonga will be there, Kings Park, you guys, and I think you might want to reach out to Town Line. You got a connection with Town Line,
Yeah.
right? Try to get them there as well. I'd like to have them there.
Just give me the details before you leave on the meeting at the time and place.
Okay, and I think Sean was going to try to reach out to them as well. And the old Northport Lawrence Road Task Force should be there as well.
And,
You gonna be there?
Yeah, and the other issue we have, we touched with Petrone, is the Marion Call Farm, which is right across the street. I think we touched on it the last time.
Yes.
I don't know what Rob can do to help us. I mean, I know that there's a farm in like Northport that the county and the town of Huntington together joined forces and purchased collaboratively.
Right.
And that might be an option for something for us to do too. I don't know.
Well, you know, Rob is certainly an open space guy. You know, he played a big role in helping to stop the sale of the Kings Park Psychiatric Center and having the property eventually transferred to state parks. You know, he would love to preserve as much open space as possible in his district. Unfortunately, the county is absolutely broke, and there is no money available.
So you don't have an open space fund?
It's right now because they're paying interest on the parcels on the property that they purchased. The county is actually paying interest because what they do is they borrow money to buy this open space, and then they pay interest on the money that they borrow. Right now, the interest is more than the money that they're taking in.
But wasn't there don't we pay in our taxes?
Yes.
We pay an open air fund tax?
You pay...
So you're trying to tell us that we're only paying the interest at this point?
At this point, yeah. The county...
Kind of what you do with the federal government, same thing.
The county, you know, we've been involved...
Maybe the county can buy it and then lease it to somebody. Lease it to the town of Huntington, maybe, I don't know, maybe one of those crazy deals.
Well, Rob had meetings, you know, with a number of people about the Suffolk County budget, and to be quite honest with you, it's pretty pathetic what's been going on. It's really scary, and nobody's been willing to make a tough decision to fix Suffolk County's fiscal problems, and they're pretty severe. And there have been a number of people that tell us that it's worse than Nassau County. Nassau County right now has a state committee overseeing their finances. And the only reason why Suffolk County does it is because the state doesn't want to make a habit of it. But Suffolk's finances are pretty darn bad. And so something has to happen. You know, first of all, there should have been a pay freeze on all county salaries because the county has no money to pay the increases, and that didn't happen. They sold the Dennison building to help fill. What? It's a leaseback program. Yeah, so they set up like this entity where this county entity that purchased the building. It gave Suffolk County about $70 million to help plug their budget hole. But the county has to pay that back with interest. So over the 20 years, I think the agreement entails, the taxpayers are going to wind up paying an extra $46 million in interest. It's a horrible plan. Absolutely terrible. Disgusting. And then they took money out of the sewer fund, which we pay into, taxpayers pay into, to preserve open space, to put in sewers. They looted the fund $30 million to help with to plug the hole. It's absolutely horrendous. So it's going to get ugly, you know, because all these things are going to come out and they're going to be addressed, you know, over the next year or two. But we're really in a sorry state, and you know, it's certainly one thing, you know, buying open space, you know, preserving what's left of any farms in the area. There are some farms out in eastern Smithtown, the farm here in Commack, Marion Coral Farm, and some other areas in Fort Salonga. That was going to be a priority of ours, and there is absolutely no money. County is broke.
which is why when we're talking about getting the grass cut in the areas around Commack and the county, find out there's 2 guys cut grass for about 20-something miles.
They cut the staff.
Okay? That's why the guys out there with the weed whacker, and this and that. We got 2
Did you
guys,
see the Dennison
20-something
building?
miles.
See the Dennison building during the summer?
It's a weed farm,
County building, it's disgusting.
Well, who's gonna maintain it now that they sold it slash are leasing it back? Are we still gonna have to maintain the building even though we sold it?
Oh, the county, yeah. I don't know exactly, who's responsible. I would assume the county, some county department is still responsible for it. I don't know which one, but they weren't doing a good job, because I did during the summer, and it was in terrible shape. The grass was overgrown, and the weeds
Look
everywhere.
at Cannon Park, right, Commack, look at Cannon Park, it's a pure example right there.
That's something, something else we're looking at, and I think Bruce said that's a county park, is right over where Jericho and that's highway splits.
Yeah.
We're looking to
That's what I'm talking about.
maintain that little park there. It's supposedly it's a county park.
Right.
So Bruce reached out to somebody and they said they wanted some plan from us on what we proposed.
Yeah, so it's-
Maybe if that goes south, maybe that's something Rob could help us out with.
Yeah, sure. Fill us in on it. Do anything in writing, or send us a letter?
Bruce spearheaded that, so he knows who we talk to and the contact information for all that.
Okay. All right, guys.
Anybody have any questions? Everybody's tired, everybody wants to go home?
When's the next meeting?
The next meeting, I don't think it's been established yet, but you'll get an email. Now that you remember, you'll have you'll get an announcement. So I guess a motion to adjourn. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
To our new members, welcome.
Nice to meet you.